Hey folks, Sharice Tyson here, coming to you live from my office. I'm coming to you today because today is the anniversary of a pretty significant event in my life. It was actually on January 2nd in 2002 that Tommy asked me for a divorce and turned my world upside down, threw me into shock, and took me to where I am today, which is a really good place to be. As some of you might not know me out there, I'm Sharice Tyson. I wrote the book Born Again in a Biker Bar, based on my situation, my life at Johnny's, and my being married to a alcoholic as a biker bar owner. God put it on my heart to share this today. I hadn't even thought about the fact that it was going to be the 15-year anniversary, but for some reason it popped in my head, which means God wanted me to do it, so that's why I'm here to share this. It was pretty devastating. It was pretty devastating. Back then, I didn't even think I could get through it. But I think somebody out there might be struggling with the same situation. Sometimes you don't know, do I stay and fight for my marriage? Do I go? There's a lot of pain involved usually, and sometimes you think you can't get past it, and you wonder if you should and whether it's worth it. And I'm here to say that if you've invested a lot of years with somebody, that it's worth toughing it out. And with God's help, anything is possible. I'm a firm believer in that. So I'm not, actually, I thought I'd read to you from my book today, and I'm not going to start where our story started. I'm going to start further into it. What in my book, which started out originally as Miracles and Grace in an Unlikely Place, memoir of a Christian biker bar owner. As you can see, it's got the Bible in the cocktail, and I think that was slowing me down at Amazon because Christians didn't want to read it because it had a cocktail, and non-Christians didn't like the Bible, and I was kind of losing some readership. So then I came up with this cover, and no, that's not me. I wish I was that hot, but anyway, I'm on the back. At any rate, I won the Living Now Book Award. I took a bronze, and I was pretty proud of that. Yeah, they give awards to people who write books that transform people's lives in one way or another. So I'm not going to pick up at the beginning. I'm going to go into the middle, but I'll just kind of give you a little backup so you'll know. My book starts with, actually, this day, January 2nd in 2002, when my husband and I, Tommy, went to the marriage counselor. And I thought we were going there to work on our relationship, but he pretty much announced at that meeting that he was done, that it was over, and we needed to get a divorce. So it was a pretty devastating day. So from there in the book, I backtrack, and I go and I tell you how we met and fell in love and got together, and then of course how I bought Johnny's, even though I knew my husband was an alcoholic. I bought a bar, and it carries through to the Johnny's history and stuff like that. But then I get back to where I was the day that Tommy asked me for a divorce. So I wanted to read to you today from the chapter titled Trying to Find My Balance, and that's on page 167 of my book. And I have to do a little drink of water first because I get thirsty. I'm getting cotton mouth. I know it's stupid to be nervous talking to a phone, but it still makes me a little bit nervous. So anyway, Trying to Find My Balance. This is on page 167 of my book. And where this picks up, by this time, Tommy's told me he wants a divorce, but he's pretty much doing everything he normally did. He's getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning for his cocktails, and he would disappear during the day, and I wasn't sure, what he was doing, but he was always drunk, so it was pretty scary, him driving around. So he told me he wanted a divorce, and then he pretty much just acted like nothing had ever happened. Well, I was pretty much falling apart at the seams. So I'll pick up there in Trying to Find My Balance. Our strange arrangement of Tommy staying on the couch and avoiding me like the plague went on for about 10 days. I tried to talk to him, but he wasn't interested. And I'd heard through the grapevine that he was hanging out at Whiskey Creek. That added insult to injury. I didn't want him to hang out at Johnny's in my face, but I certainly didn't want him spending my hard-earned money at the creek. I was stuck in a terrible catch-22. I continued to go to my Al-Anon meetings as well as therapy, and I listened to Joyce's videos and cassette tapes incessantly. I forgot to say Joyce Meyer is my mentor. Her videotape on codependency is what turned my life around, so I was listening to her incessantly. At any rate, so I'd gone online and ordered a bunch of her material. I felt like she knew me and could help me see my way out of my misery. And miserable I was. I cried all the time. 15 years later. Silly. Wasn't expecting that. Okay. I started to lean on God a little, but I was still trying to figure things out for myself. I was trying to improve myself while my alcoholic husband continued to go along like nothing had happened. His life hadn't changed a bit while he turned mine upside down. I finally couldn't take it anymore. He was sitting at the bar at a video game machine one morning, and I decided to put an end to the uncertainty. He didn't even look away from the machine as I approached. Tommy, how long do you intend to go on like this? Go on like what? Go on like what? I'll tell you what. You told me you didn't want to be married to me anymore, and since then I've been falling apart. Will you go on with life as usual? You continue to drink yourself into oblivion at my expense, sleep on the couch, and refuse to even talk about where we go from here. I can't take it anymore. I'm losing my mind. I believe that God wants us to stay together, but if you won't even try to deal with our problems, we're doomed. I don't know what you want me to do. Do something. Go to an AA meeting. Get some counseling. Just do something. I tried AA before and it didn't work for me. I'll never be good enough for you, and there's no use trying. Our marriage was over a long time ago. You just don't want to admit it. So what am I supposed to do? I said, my temper's starting to flare. Continue to pay all of the bills and pay for your booze while you drink yourself to death? Put a roof over your head and gas in your truck while you rip my heart out? I never know when you're going to stop coming home. You sleep on the couch while I cry all night. It's not fair. It has to stop. I have a small job coming up at a place that it used to be a convalescent home. The people said I could stay there a while I do the work. I'll try to get out of the house in the next couple of days, he said emotionlessly. I ran to my office, grabbed my purse and keys, and drove home a basket case. Tommy's matter-of-fact attitude and lack of feelings ripped me to the core. It was true. He didn't love me anymore. That was obvious. I could barely see the road through my tears, and I wailed so loudly when I got home that I'm surprised the neighbors didn't call the police. I was in so much pain that I literally thought I would die from it. Whew, stupid. How could he be so cold? Okay. The more I thought about how badly he was treating me, the madder I got. The madder I got, the less pain I felt, and that was a good thing. I resolved to see an attorney the next day. If he thought he was going to live off of me forever, he was wrong. It was about time he took care of himself. And where did he think he would get the money to do that? I didn't care. If he was finished, I was finished too. If a divorce is what he wanted, I'd see to it that he got one. I cried myself to sleep again and woke up at 6 a.m. and went to the kitchen. Tommy was asleep on the couch. I stood and stared at him for a while. I needed to stay mad, but he looked so pitiful. The living room smelled like old socks and old booze, which brought back my resolve. I decided to sneak out for a walk. When I got back, I'd inform him of my plans. I took a brisk 40-minute walk, and when I returned home, Tommy was coming out of the bathroom. I've been thinking about what you said, I told him. If we are truly finished, we should probably start divorce proceedings. If you get arrested or hurt someone while driving around drunk, you could cost me everything that I've worked so hard for, and I can't take that chance. Fine, you have a point. What do you need to do? Do what you need to do, excuse me. You're the one who wants a divorce, and now I've got to handle that too? I wouldn't know where to start, and I'm not the one with the checkbook. Divorces aren't free, you know. Do you plan on finding another place to live, or are you going to continue staying here and torturing me? I'll move out today, but I'll have to leave most of my stuff here. The place I'm staying at is only temporary. I'll take some clothes for now, but that will be all. Great, and I'll get to work on starting the divorce proceedings. I was livid. Once again, I was left holding the bag. I stormed out of the room and slammed the door to our bedroom so hard that I hurt my shoulder. I jumped into the shower to prepare for work, and then I searched for an attorney. I got to Johnny's and knocked out all of my bookwork as quickly as possible so I could get to work on the attorney situation. I had no clue where to start. I could have asked John O'Brien, but he had known both Tommy and me since I bought the bar, and it felt a little too close to home. I knew a prominent businesswoman in town, and I figured she would know a good attorney. My business colleague was sorry to hear about my situation, but was familiar with Tommy's drinking problem, and she had just the guy for me. I called the attorney's office, and he managed to squeeze me in that day at 4 o'clock. I could still make my therapist appointment first, so that would work out well. When I told Dr. Sullivan that I was seeking a divorce lawyer, he seemed pleased. He hadn't given our marriage a snowball's chance in hell of making it anyway. After our meeting, I headed back to Hollister to meet with the attorney. Mr. Duran's office had leather chairs and dark wood furniture. He was tall and dressed in a nice suit with cowboy boots. Could I expect anything else in Hollister? He had a firm handshake and a barracuda demeanor. I felt like he could surely look out for my best interests. We sat down, and I filled him in on the situation. He told me his normal retainer fee was $2,500. My mouth hit the floor. After that, he spelled out the situation based on California's community property statutes. I asked why the heck I would have to give him I asked why the heck I would give him $2,500 so that my husband could take half of everything I owned. He told me that a paralegal was probably my best bet. I left the office completely deflated. I could understand Tommy getting half of our house, but the bar was quite another story. I used my inheritance for the down payment, and I was the one who'd worked all these years while my husband drank up the profits. There was no way I could give him half of what I worked so hard for. I couldn't even imagine him asking for it. He wasn't that cold. That was a bad assumption on my part. I found a paralegal and explained to Tommy that for $400 she could file our divorce papers for us once we decided how we were going to divide up our property. In the meantime, we needed to file for a legal separation, relieving me of any financial responsibilities for bills he continued to rack up. I'd paid off numerous charge cards in the past that he very irresponsibly ran through the roof, and I was through with that. I made an appointment for the following week and asked Tommy to meet me there. While I was in self-preservation mode, I cried a lot less, at least during the day. Nights were horrible. Jeez Louise, 15 years later. Okay, I'll get through this, you guys. Excuse me. This is so surprising. Okay. The first night that Tommy didn't come home was excruciating. Even though we hadn't been sleeping together, knowing that he was in the house brought me some comfort. I thought I would lose my mind with conflicting feelings. I wanted to choke him, but I missed his presence. It made no sense at all. I told myself that he wanted to move on. I'd move on too. I knew if he took half of everything that I had worked so hard for, I could build myself back up again. He would most certainly drink away his half and wind up with nothing. The thought should have brought me pleasure, but instead it broke my heart. I couldn't stand thinking about him all used up with nothing in his life. Still, I certainly didn't want to think about him sharing his half with someone else. Holy crap, I needed help. I was a basket case. I filled my days with Al-Anon meetings, Joyce Meyer books and tapes, self-help books, and my Bible. I read incessantly and never turned on the TV or the radio. Something inside of me knew that there was a lesson to be learned that would make me a better person in the end. I decided to follow the advice dished out at my meetings and just take one day at a time. The day Tommy met me at the paralegal's office, I matched his cold demeanor with one of my own. Mrs. Garrett's office was on the bottom floor of a business complex on San Benito Street. She was pleasant and unbiased and gave us the facts. She explained once more California's community property laws and said that the process was pretty straightforward. When she said, each of you gets half of everything, Tommy had a smug look on his face. I read somewhere that an inheritance does not fall under those rules, I told her. I bought Johnny's with my inheritance, so wouldn't that make it exempt? If you have proof of the inheritance, that amount would be deducted from the sale of the bar and the bar's appraised value, or the bar's appraised value. But the rest would be split down the middle, she said. But he knows it's been all of my hard work that made the bar what it is, I said, as if Tommy weren't sitting right next to me. You heard the lady, he said. It's California law. But it's not right, I yelped. I've done plenty in that bar over the years. You just never gave me any credit for it. Who do you think remodeled it and fixes stuff every time something breaks? Are you kidding me? You spent maybe 3 months off and on remodeling the place, and you pretty much stopped fixing anything without a knockdown, drag-out fight 4 years ago. I've worked my ass off for 6 years while you drink up all the profits. You're delusional, pal. I'm sorry, Charisse Mascarad said. Tom has the law on his side. Why don't we just file for the separation for now, and you two can take the papers home and look them over. We'll deal with the actual divorce after you've had some time to discuss the details. We signed the paperwork, took our copies, and headed for the door. When we got to the parking lot, I glared at Tommy and said, if you think you're going to get half of everything, you're crazy. The law is the law, he said. I screeched out of the parking lot and went to the bar for a stiff drink. The usual clan was there and sympathetically listened to me rave on. But they all agreed that I was screwed. I couldn't believe that Tommy would do that to me. He wasn't acting like the man I married. It was as if a crazy alien had taken over his body. I was sure that when he calmed down, he would see how unreasonable he was being. I would have thrown back a few cocktails, but I had my Al-Anon meeting in San Jose to go to, and I wasn't about to go there loopy. I haven't been able to speak at the meetings because I cried through all of them, but I felt like I might be able to share a little this evening. I decided to leave early and go to Aunt Joni's so I wouldn't be tempted to drink anymore. I put on Joyce for my ride to San Jose, and by the time I got to Joni's house, I was back to being a puddle again. Joyce said that God wasn't obligated to get you out of a situation that he never told you to get into. She said we rush in with our own plans and don't ask God what he thinks about them, and then, when they don't work out, we expect him to bail us out. I heard God's voice saying, you were married to an alcoholic and you bought a bar. What did you expect? I didn't want to be accountable for that choice. I wanted to blame everything on Tommy the way I've been doing for years. Joni went with me to the meeting, and I was glad for the company. Not so coincidentally, I'm sure, the theme of the evening was accountability. The chairperson took responsibility for her part in her husband's demise, which led to everyone else who shared doing the same. God saw to it that I was forced into seeing my culpability in our mess. It was a very painful ordeal, and once again I cried through the entire meeting. I got more hugs when I left that night than I ever had before. Everyone let me know that they were praying for me, which I deeply appreciated. I passed on Joni's effort to treat me to pie and Marie calendars. I just wanted to get home. I put Joyce's tape in the player, but found that I couldn't listen to it. I felt like I needed some time alone with God. I turned off the cassette player and started praying out loud. Dear God, please forgive me. I want to accept responsibility for my part in the big mess I've made of my life. I knew Tommy was an alcoholic, but I followed my dream. I put my wishes before our marriage. I'm a selfish bitch. Sorry, God. I have demeaned my husband for so long he probably doesn't have an ounce of self-esteem left. I am so sorry, Lord. Please forgive me. Help my husband to forgive me. Please don't let me lose him, God. Save our marriage. I sobbed for most of the drive home and vacillated between feeling sorry for myself and being angry at myself for getting into such a mess. But God, I pleaded, everything came together so well at the right time. I believed it was the right thing to do. Is it possible that I could be so completely wrong? When I got home, I went right to bed and cried myself to sleep again. I woke up at 3 a.m. and had a serious come to Jesus meeting. If I wanted things to change, I knew it would have to start with me. Okay, God, you know my heart, I prayed. You know I love my husband and I don't want a divorce. I want you to show me my part in the mess. I want you to show me the person my husband sees. Reveal me to me. Show me my defects so that I can be the person that you want me to be. You're the potter and I'm the clay, Lord. Help me, please, I beg of you. Save my marriage. Take it from me. If you don't want to know the truth from God, do not ask him to tell you. God showed me more of myself than I ever wanted to see. The visions that he put before me brought me more shame than I thought possible. The loving, kind, and giving person I consider myself to be was not the person who ran through my memory banks now. He opened my eyes to the fact that I always had to have my own way. I turned a deaf ear to other people's needs if it in any way interfered with mine. I insulted and demeaned my husband several times a day. I stepped all over people who got in my way. I was a selfish, controlling bitch, plain and simple. I repented and asked for forgiveness. I asked God to change me, not my husband. I thanked him for loving such a flawed and screwed up individual. Slowly, a peace came over me like I had never known. I heard God speaking to my heart. Your marriage will be saved. I love you and forgive you. And one day Tommy will too. Just leave him to me. Whew. My tears of sadness and regret turn into tears of joy. And these really are. This just, oh, a flashback. And I believed, ooh, that I can't see what I wrote because, doggone it. Okay, where was I? My tears of sadness and regret turned to tears of joy, and I believed what God said with all my heart. When I fell asleep again, I had the best sleep that I had in a long time, and as long as I could remember. Okay, well, that was a little tougher than I thought that was going to be. Anyway, the good part of that is there's the great ending, and we're still working on it. We're not an ending. We're growing more every day. We're appreciating each other more every day. I'm telling you, with God in the middle of your marriage, you can survive anything. And I sincerely believe without him in the marriage, you don't stand a chance. Life is crazy and hard. And if you don't have that God holding you together like that, it's just about impossible. I mean, we're a work in progress. We still have our issues. I can tell you that there's still triggers that I can say or do something, and he goes right back to thinking of me as the old controlling biatch that I was, and I can ask him to fix something or whatever, and I get the, the tude of when I get around to it, and that just all still sends me, because I'm still working on my wanting everything right now the way I want it. I'm much better than I used to be. I've come a long way. With God's help, you can. So anyway, I'm hoping that sharing some of that story might help somebody out there who's been either got an alcoholic in their life or a drug addict, or if you're the codependent and you're just always trying to fix and help everybody, and meanwhile the life's being sucked out of you. I'm here to tell you that there is help, and it's in God. He will do it. And if you'd like to read my book, it's online at Amazon.com. I sell them at Johnny's. And you can also go to my website, catyson.com, and get one. And right now I'm actually doing a promotion there where you get a free PDF, the 5 things you can do to increase your joy right now, as well as a copy of the ebook. If you want the ebook, I can send it to you, and you can read it in Kindle or Nook or any of those forms. I'm so glad you guys joined me. I have to tell you, it's was an experience I wasn't quite expecting. I didn't expect to get that emotional. But here it is 15 years later, and thank God we did not get the divorce, and he saved our marriage, saved my husband's life, because he would surely be dead. And he's just helped me in so many ways. Everything I went through for a reason. There's no doubt in my mind. And I put the verse up on my Facebook just the other day, and I was going to look it up and forgot that he lets us go through what we need to go through so that we can help others, and that we can be there for others when they're hurting. And I really think that's my goal, my purpose in life at this juncture, is that God wants me to help other people who are dealing with trying to find their way, whether they're with an alcoholic or a drug addict. It can be any habit. It doesn't even matter. It can be somebody who gambles or pornography. Anytime that someone puts something in their life above you and God and everything else, it's going to affect you. There's just no way of getting around it. And without him, you just don't stand a chance. And so I offer coaching. I offer prayer. Anybody can reach out to me. You can reach out to me through email. You can reach out to me at Facebook. You can tweet me. I'm on LinkedIn, Pinterest. I'm on all those places. And I'm here to help. And if any of you have suffered with the situation, I want to be there for you, because we're on the other side. And it's a privilege and an honor. And I wouldn't, you saw how emotional it made me just to talk about it, even 15 years later, but I wouldn't change a thing. Boy, 15 years. I can't believe it still gets to me like this. But at any rate, I want to thank you all for joining me. Thank you, Nancy and Michelle, for checking in, and Dawn and Jeannie. Jeannie, I haven't seen you in so long. One of these days, we're going to get in our trailer and go across country, and then we'll have to pop over and see you, Jeannie. See you and Dale. Anyway, I just appreciate y'all who joined me, and I hope you got something out of that. And I hope maybe you'll share the word so I can help. Maybe you have a friend who's married to an alcoholic or a drug addict or something, and you think something I've said today can help. I just would love that for you to share my book with them, or this video, anything that might help them. So I love y'all. Happy New Year. I hope 2017 is the best ever for you, because I know it's going to be for me. God has big, big plans for my life, and I'm very excited about it. So I will see you on Facebook or at Johnny's. Just celebrated kicking off my 22nd year at Johnny's. And come there and get a book, and I'll sign it for you. Or I can mail you one too, so just let me know. Thanks again, everybody, for checking in. I am so glad that you did, and I hope that you got something out of this, and I hope you'll share it, because I sure do appreciate that. You guys have a great day, and God bless.